personal branding is part of communicating. It's part of selling, and it's added a layer of credibility. He's like, I didn't realize there was a world behind my little neighborhood in Detroit. And when I learned to read and I started reading books before boxing is the hook that centers everything, but it's all about all the other stuff.
We're not only helping people finance a home. This is so much bigger than that, because if you're helping them buy it, you also need to make sure that they can keep it.
If I'm learning, my audience gets to learn right alongside with me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Conversations That Count. This is your host, David Shaft, and today I have Brian with us. Brian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
For sure. David, thanks for having me on, man. Love this. I'm a podcaster myself, so I'm looking to learn from you here. Brian Vieaux, President, Chief Operating Officer of FinLocker. We're a FinTech startup in the housing finance space. We can talk a little bit about that. And I'm a lifelong Michigander.
A fellow Michigander, best state in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
And we've got our fellow Spartan here, right? So go green.
Hey, go white. I love it. Now, Brian, thank you, by the way, for coming on to our show, sharing some of yourself with us. Brian, I got to start off, especially since you're a leader of people, I have to ask about a conversation that you've had that's counted, that's meant a lot to you, that's had an impact on your life.
I love it. Great question, man. I love the podcast concept. It's super cool. About 5.5, maybe 6 years ago, I met the founder and executive director of a nonprofit after-school advocacy program in downtown Detroit, a guy named Khali Sweeney and Jessica Hauser. And I was introduced to them by a friend of mine who I worked with at the time at Flagstar Bank, because I was looking for a nonprofit to support as a board member. And so I remember driving down, going into the facility, walking in the door, and I'm like, this is a boxing gym. What's going on here? I thought this was an after-school advocacy program. I walked into a big building with 2 boxing rings, and kids were sparring and working out, and got a little tour of the facility. And as we left that main part of the building, we went down this corridor, and there were 3, 4, 5 little classrooms with 10, 12 kids in each classroom. And this is Tuesday night, 5:30 p.m. well after school. And these kids were grinding it out, getting educational help to supplement where they had some gaps in terms of their schooling. And so the conversation that really sparked for me was talking to Khali Sweeney. Khali's the founder. And Khali told a story about when he was 17 years old, living in Detroit. Basically, he described for him high school as a scam, because as a 17-year-old, he was getting graduated on and couldn't read. He's like, wow, how do you graduate kids on and they can't read? He's like, this is a scam. And
at 17 too.
16, 17. And so he basically said, well, what does it matter anyway? Everybody that I know that's my age or a little bit older is either in jail or dead. He's like, that's my future. That's my life. And so he went down a path, not a great path, and ended up by happenstance finding a mentor. And he met the mentor because Khali needed to learn how to fight. He's like, if I'm going to take care of myself, I got to learn how to fight. So he found a guy that could teach him how to fight and box. Boxing was going to be that. He was going to learn to fight through boxing. And so this mentor said, I'll make you a deal. I'll teach you to fight if you let me teach you to read at the same time. And so Khali's like, well, I want to learn how to fight, so I guess I got to do this, right? So yeah, he went in, he'd do his 30, 40 minutes of boxing training and learning, and then spend an hour and a half with somebody helping him to learn how to read. And what Khali, I remember this vividly, talking to him, because his eyes lit up. He's like, I didn't realize there was a world behind my little neighborhood in Detroit. And when I learned to read and I started reading books and I learned about all this other stuff, he's like, all these neurons were firing off in his head, in his brain, and just all these possibilities, right? Yeah. So fast forward a few years later in his life, and he basically his mission became, I want to help kids before they get to that 16, 17-year-old age where they can't read. I want to help them younger so they never have to go down that path. So he made his mission in life to help students that need help, that are just not getting what they need in the school system, to keep them on a path to have academic success and at least graduate, if not go beyond. And so the downtown boxing gym was founded by Khali Sweeney. It's run by Jessica Hauser, the executive director. We have 160, 170 kids in the program on an annual basis, but we have 1,500 on a waiting list to get in. And we have 100% graduation. Yeah, it's a special place. That conversation just, wow. it resonated with me because it was a clear connection between somebody that got it and somebody that was helped and realized the value of that help and wanted to give it back in multiples to his community. Yeah. So that would be my meaningful conversation. And by the way, you should have Khali on your podcast because it would be your best podcast.
No, I would love that. I'd love to bring him
hook you up.
Thank you so much for that, Brian. And that's so amazing, right? So this gentleman, if I understand, wasn't able to read, 16, 17 years old.
Was going to graduate.
Yeah, was going to graduate. And that's even more wild that he was going to graduate, right? I know we want to see people graduate, but he honestly doesn't sound like he had any business graduating yet.
Yeah.
And he took, life wasn't going down the right path, but he had someone reach out to him, a mentor, and say, hey, I'll teach you how to fight. I'll teach you how to protect yourself if you're going to make these poor decisions, but you have to read too.
Yeah.
And what's wild is, I'm going to give you a little story now too, because that really resonates with me. I'll never forget. I went to preschool, but they never taught us anything except how to play with toys. Right. I'll never forget getting to the first grade, getting a spelling test, right? Paper and everything. And I had two people on each side of me. One went to the same preschool as me, didn't know how to write or read. Neither did I. And then a young woman next to me, she did know how to write or read. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, well, I got to pass this test. I'm not showing up home with a poor test to my grandma. And I look over at hers and I'm like, that's gibberish. I don't know anything she wrote on her paper. And then I look over at my friends and I'm like, oh, I can copy that. Nothing but squiggles, right? And I'm like, oh, this is going to make me pass, right? Completely failed. And so I spent the entire first grade having to stay after and go during to essentially remedial classes to like learn how to read. But the woman that helped me took me from not being able to read at all to having one of the highest reading competencies by the second grade. So
unbelievable.
Yeah. I think that's amazing to hear his story because luckily someone got to me much younger, but the fact someone got to him at all at that stage is amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Brian. So what the gym does today, and we call it the gym because this is the beauty of it. Think about this facility is in the east side of Detroit, just right around Eastern Market. And most kids, I don't care what community they're in.
Yeah.
But especially in tougher communities, if a kid says to their pal, what are you doing after school? And the kid says, well, I'm going to get mentored. I'm going to go work on after school. That kid's going to get beat up. So
that's true.
Instead of the kids having to say, I'm going to to get tutored, they can say, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the boxing gym.
That's genius.
And
the branding's different.
So the one of the taglines that we have is books before boxing.
I love that.
But boxing is the hook that kind of that centers everything. But it's this much of what the gym does. It's all about all the other stuff.
And even for the kids starting off who might not be interested in learning, they're like, well, to your point, I have to learn so I can box. Yeah. If I don't learn, I can't get in the gym.
It's a trade-off. Yeah.
And you have 100% graduation rate from the gym?
Graduation rate over the last, I think, 10 or 12 years. Which is phenomenal. And these kids aren't just graduating, eking by. I think 99% of our graduates go on to college or right into a profession.
Wow.
Pretty special.
Is there anything that people like myself or our fellow Michiganders can do to help with the gym?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So it's a not-for-profit, right? And
of course,
I mentioned we've got 1,500 kids on our waiting list. Our mission, our near-term mission is to double the number of kids that we can support and go from 180 to 360, somewhere around there. So Downtown Boxing Gym, DBG Detroit. If you go to the website, you can learn about it. You can obviously donate if people are so compelled to do. If folks are local like yourself, I'd love to host a group and take you on a tour and let you see it firsthand because it is a special place.
No, I'd love the opportunity. You're also going to tell me about that after the podcast too. And we'll include the link then in the description. So
there you go.
You can also click on it for the gym.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I have to ask, Brian, to be able to mentor people probably wasn't easy to get where you are. So How long have you had the company you had, right? When did it start?
So this company started about 6 years ago. I've been with it for a little over 4 years. And before coming here and running FinLocker, I spent 30 years in
Wow.
mortgage risk, much like yourself. I started in 1991 with a privately held mortgage company in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And we built that business, sold it to Citibank. And then from there, worked in 3 or 4 other banks in the mortgage division, most recently Flagstar Bank, running their third-party mortgage business.
Okay. That's wow. And so you probably had to learn a lot in your time in the industry, and that's what inspired you for this need. Because essentially, if I understand it, you're filling a need that's been there.
Yeah, so our company and our product today is, there's a lot of parallels, frankly, with the boxing gym, and just a little subtle difference. What we've built is a piece of technology that loan officers and lenders can use to provide financial education, financial literacy with a set of financial tools to help people achieve the dream of home ownership. So we're really focused on the digital side of home ownership preparation from a financial perspective. So we help people understand where they are from a financial perspective as an individual, a combination of credit, their liabilities, help them understand budgeting, goal setting, and then we take that experience and overlay it with the standard mortgage guidelines, if you will.
Okay.
And what we find is that millennials and the Gen Z segment, the younger folks that are entering that early stage of home buying, are concerned with being judged that they're not ready. And so a tool like kind of lets somebody have a safe, secure place to understand a little bit better their own readiness and prepare themselves, but always be connected with a lender or a loan officer for more help and more guidance.
I love it.
It's exciting because it's, as you're in the space, the first time home buyer segment is estimated to be 30 million home buyers over the next 5 to 6 years. And it's only going to grow. And that segment of our generation, and you're in that, maybe the tail end of it, is the digital first generation. And so you all want something on your phone first before you want to talk to somebody. And our app kind of helps facilitate that.
I think that's huge too, because especially relating to the boxing gym, there's not a lot of financial literacy out there at all. It's hard to find, especially something that'll guide you through and walk you through the steps of, hey, I know you want a home, but let's start with square one and we'll get you there. And I think
Let
that's
me ask
something.
you a question.
Oh, please.
Did you have a financial literacy course in high school?
No, not at all.
College?
Even in college, I minored in economics.
Yeah, but it wasn't
Knew
personal.
nothing.
It wasn't personal economics, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I knew nothing.
So we, as a society, we're not setting people up for success, personal financial success at a low level, even at the high school level. You would think logically that every college student would go through a comprehensive kind of personal finance curriculum. Doesn't happen. So it's left to folks like us who provide mortgage financing to help fill in those gaps in terms of knowledge and expertise for financial education as it relates to home ownership.
And that's actually something you can probably relate to, but my team, because I run a banking team, right? So they write mortgages every day. And something that I had to make clear very early is we're not only helping people finance a home. This is so much bigger than that, because if you're helping them buy it, you also need to make sure that they can keep it and walk them through the steps of that, which it sounds like your technology is a large part of too.
It is. It's one thing to your point, to get somebody ready to buy and ready for the financing part of that transaction, but successful, sustainable home ownership. It's arguably, personal finance only becomes more complicated after you own a home. It's not less
100%.
complicated. So the technology does continue to kind of stay with the consumer and help them as they start to grow family and generational wealth through real estate.
That's amazing. Now, I can see how also you would want, someone like yourself would want to start a podcast. But I want to hear from you. Can you tell me what inspired that?
Yeah, I started it, I would call it probably a little selfishly for our company, for our brand, to build some awareness.
For sure.
And then a friend of mine at the time had built a media platform, and podcast distribution was one of those segments that he had engineered. And so he needed content. So I was forced into it a little bit to help my friend put some content out. And we created this thing called FinTech Fridays. And so what it's turned into, I think I've recorded 120 or 130 episodes over a couple of years now.
Wow.
But what it's turned into is just me having a 20, 25-minute conversation with somebody who I otherwise probably wouldn't know. And I learn about them and maybe their company and their product. And so for my audience is mostly people in the mortgage industry. And I structure the conversations. This is relevant to your podcast. I structure these 20-minute conversations in a way that I'm learning. And so if I'm learning, my audience gets to learn right alongside with me. So that's how we do these FinTech Friday episodes.
So especially since the people you interview are mostly in the mortgage industry, have you noticed that speaking to them, learning from them has impacted your business too?
It definitely has, without a question. It's created personal branding for myself individually, which is great. But I'm directly connected to the FinLocker brand. So it's helped elevate our brand. Maybe I probably shouldn't share this because people may be watching this that are in my network, but we may appear a little bit bigger than we are because we've got this FinTech Friday podcast and we're doing this over. But you know this as well as anybody, personal branding is part of communicating. It's part of, in our business, it's part of selling. And it helps. It definitely helps. It's added a layer of credibility. And what's cool, what I find is cool is I can reach out to just about anybody in the space and ask them to come on my podcast because everybody wants to talk about themselves anyway.
Of course.
And it's open doors for me to have conversations after the podcast about our business and an opportunity there. So it's been pretty cool.
No, that's amazing. And something I think too, and I could be wrong, but I can only imagine that you speaking to people in the space every day, other business owners, it probably helps you stay ahead of problems before they even arise. Well, as you build your technology out even more and it grows, you're aware of what people are looking for.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. And it definitely helps stay on the front end of trends that are going on in mortgage tech. And to your point, on occasion, we'll get lucky and learn something that maybe we can avoid a pitfall that we otherwise would have found.
No, I think that's huge, especially for an industry like the mortgage industry that's constantly changing, constantly growing and moving. Even though like a business owner may come on your podcast, they may not even have solved for the problem yet. You get to say, well, guess who has, or you get to have your team start on it, get ahead of it, to your point, get ahead of the trend. I think that's amazing.
I got to ask you, I'm going to turn the tables here.
Please.
When did you get in the mortgage business and how did it happen? Because I don't think you took a course. You didn't take a class to get in the mortgage business.
Not at all. I had no idea what I was doing when I started, to be quite honest. I was fresh out of college. I was actually trying to start more of a branding and marketing company. I was like, oh, how can I learn about business and never have to leave my room, right? And as I was doing it, I was working with this musical artist and I wasn't making any money at the time. Again, fresh out of college, starting a business, no money, those two things really don't align. But again, didn't know personal finance to understand that, right?
Yeah.
And he actually went to Michigan State as well. And so I'll name drop, right? His name is Joe Kane, music artist by night, underwriter with Rocket Mortgage by day. And so I'm telling him like my pitfalls, what I'm struggling with, and I'm helping as much as I can, right? Doing as much work as I can. And he's like, well, I think what you're doing is great, right? You do good work. I like you, but money helps. Why don't instead you try learning more about finance, money, and actually gaining a great income? Go try Rocket Mortgage, apply. And I did it. And I was like, wow, my world changed, right? It opened up. I was almost still at a point growing up, I thought people only bought homes with money. I was like, wow, if they live in a home, young kids, Section 8, if someone lives in a home, they must just have a ton of money. Turns out no one nearly in America actually owns their home outright. So I learned so much and I started falling in love with it because I learned that the way people truly make a living and the way they can truly improve their life is by improving others. So I learned that by solving problems and helping other people, I started solving my own problems. Then I was able to buy a home and then I was able to mentor and teach people. And so I've fallen in love with the industry and it's taught me the value of being able to speak to others and learn from people like yourself, right?
Love it. That's awesome.
I didn't get here on purpose, but I'm happy.
No, none of us did. None of us did.
I love it. And it's funny you asked me that too, because I actually had a gentleman who runs a nonprofit who I interviewed. His episode will be coming out in a couple of weeks, named Toson Knight. You may have heard of him, maybe not. I don't know. But he actually came on the podcast as well. And he was telling me, because he helps kids who are underprivileged going through hard times. And so when you were talking about the boxing gym, I thought of him as well. He might be someone cool to even introduce to it, maybe do
I
something.
love it. That's awesome.
But yeah, when I went to speak, because I actually went and met some of the kids he works with, and it actually took me back and reminded me about how much we need financial education, right? And how important that is. So I love what you're doing. I love what financial education has done for my life. Heck, keep it up.
Love it, man. This has been a riot. This has been a blast. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. And again, is there anything before we wrap up you want to share with the people, want them to go to? Where can we find your podcast at, most importantly?
Yeah, right now, I don't think I'm as advanced as you are in terms of my distribution, but I have a YouTube channel, FinTech Fridays podcast.
Love it.
So you can check out all of our episodes there. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. So there's a LinkedIn page, FinTech Fridays podcast. You can keep up with all the content there. And then if anyone wants to learn about FinLocker, it's FinLocker.com. And then certainly hope everyone checks out the downtown boxing gym.
I definitely hope so too. And just last thing I'll leave everyone with, what actually brought me to you, Brian, is that first I saw your company. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what he's working on. But then I started watching the podcast. So for all of you out there, if you like my podcast, I promise you'll love Brian's. Again, stays really ahead on the trend for the mortgage industry. Also, I'd say every episode you have is a conversation that counts, right? You're always learning, growing with the person you have on the show. So I encourage everyone, go out there, watch it, check it out. Again, links will be in the description. So make sure you go and watch it. So thank you for being on our podcast. Again, this is Conversations That Count with David Shaft. Let's everyone have a successful day. Let's win. Let's go out there and have some fun. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone, for watching another episode of Conversations That Count. Sometimes what we find is YouTube will unsubscribe us from our favorite channels, as well as when we finish an episode, we'll have enjoyed it so much, we'll forget to hit the subscribe button because we'll be so caught up with it. My ask is so that we can keep the channel free, so that I can continue bringing you amazing guests, continue bringing you amazing practices that improve all of our skills as we go into every day and every week. If you can hit that subscribe button, if you can like, share, it goes a very long way to, again, keeping the channel free, allowing us to continue providing you amazing content. And my promise is I will only continue to improve the content, improve the guests, and improve the best practices every single time. I will make sure every week and every month that it only gets better for you. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.